So the Sisters of Battle Codex is out, and people have had a chance to look at it and give some opinions online, and think about different units. I'm going to sort of run through some of the changes and talk about the different units and how I think they're going to work, or some experience with a little bit of how some of them have worked so far. Okay, the Canoness. This is the first non-named character in the Warlord choice. In the previous codex, the only reason you saw her on the table was to get a double 4-sword, because she was the cheapest HQ. Now, that's not necessarily the case. She's actually gotten really significantly better in this version than she did in the past. As a matter of fact, if you take St. Celestine, you might consider taking a Canoness and using her as your Warlord, because she could be potentially more survivable than St. Celestine. Why do I say that? Because she's not quite as good in a fight and not as good at shooting as St. Celestine. So why would I say she's potentially more survivable? Well, let's talk about what the Canoness does. She's wearing power armor, so she gets her 3-up armor save. She's leadership 10, so she can be the Warlord. No matter who else is in the army, she can be the Warlord. She has acts of faith just like the other sisters. She's an independent character, so you can attach her to any of your other sisters' units, and potentially Imperial Guard units, since they're blood brothers. She has martyrdom, so if she does die, the sisters' units are going to benefit from that. She is stubborn, so she's unlikely to run, but she's not fearless, so that is a difference. You can make her run off the table. She comes with a pistol, but you can, and this one's got an Inferno pistol, but you can switch that pistol out for a bolter, and there's no cost to that. So, she can be armed with pretty much a pistol, which is a close combat weapon, or a bolter, which counts as a close combat weapon, if she doesn't have anything else. She can take a Rosarius, so boom, she gets a 4-up invulnerable save, and that's probably worth taking if she's your Warlord. She can take Melt-A-Bombs just like the last codex, and they're pretty cheap. And then she can take melee weapons, ranged weapons, and ecclesiastical relics. And so, how does this work out? Well, one thing, she can take an Inferno pistol, so if you want, you can give her a Melta, which is useful if someone's close to her that needs to be wounded, because Meltas, even though they're strength 8, they still pretty much wound and or penetrate almost any vehicle in the game. She can also take a Condemner bolt gun, and in the past this was a weapon that no one ever used because it was kind of pointless. Now, the Condemner bolt gun potentially is absolutely lethal, depending on how the rules are interpreted, and there'll probably be an FAQ on it. Well, there might be, considering GW and its history with the sisters. But a Condemner bolt gun says that if you use it, it's a combi weapon, and if you shoot a squad that has any sort of psyker in it, then and as it's written, there's a Perils of the Warp applied to the unit. So any unit with a Psyker, Brotherhood of Psychers, or Psychic Pilot, special rules, that is hit by this weapon suffers Perils of the Warp. It says any unit, which means the unit, so you could potentially wipe out a 50-man squad of cultists with Typhus attached to them, because Typhus is a Psyker. And there's no save to Perils of the Warp. So she becomes much better at boosting your army and surviving than she did in the past. In the past, she was kind of she was kind of lackluster, and she wasn't all that kittable. But now she is. So, other things that she does, she could get Litanies of Faith, which is useful. But the real big things is that if she has the Cloak, she rerolls her invulnerable and or armor saves. If she has Eternal Warrior, it's much harder to get her off the table. You can't one-shot kill someone with Eternal Warrior. You could give her a weapon that is almost as good as St. Celestine's sword, minus the Flamer. And if you give her the Book of St. Lucius, then essentially she's fearless without having the fearless rule. And groups to come near her are going to regroup, so she works like a synapse creature in that regard, so people are fleeing towards her and they become fearless. So she gets really good. And I think you'll probably see Canonesses much more than you used to. Now, on the topic of the Canoness, one other thing that the Canoness allows you to do is the Canoness lets you take the Sororitas Command Squad. So that's 5 Celestins, but they're special ones because because they don't take up an elite slot, and there's always 5 of them. You can't take 6, you can't take 10. It's always 5. You can upgrade one of those 5 to a Hospitator and one of them to a Dialogus. I'm not really sure you would upgrade one to the Dialogus, but if you upgrade one for a very low point cost to a Hospitator, you give the unit Feel No Pain. And bear with me, you're going to ask, why am I taking this unit? In the past, it was kind of a waste. Well, I think now, you're much more likely to take a Canoness in your army. And if you take this unit of 5 girls, they don't take up a 4-sword slot, and they can play the exact role that is used by the repressors in the heavies. Repressors, I don't think you're going to see them because they compete with exorcists and even penitent engines. Their rending is only once per game, so not likely to be used. This squad, for just a few points more, you can take 5 girls, you can give them all heavy weapons, or take 4 girls, make the 5th one into a Hospitator, which gives the whole squad Feel No Pain, and give 4 heavy weapons to the others. So you could put those 5 girls in a Rhino or an Immolator, give them multi-meltas or meltas or heavy flamers, and you've got a pretty good unit that doesn't take up a 4-sword slot, so it doesn't compete with your exorcists, for example. So I think this option got really good because you went from a squad that never saw any use to a squad that sees quite a lot potentially. They're still playing with points, so you're competing with some of the other units, but Command Squad got much better. It's essentially a Devastator squad for the girls, and they have very high leadership, so they're very likely to stick on the board. And if you wanted to, even if you took the squad with the Canoness or a priest, you stuck a priest with them, they're fearless. So you can stick them all in their Rhino and drive them, or their Immolator, and drive them downrange and shoot, or keep them backfield and shoot. So I think the Command Squad got much better